Welcome to another episode of the Elevated Frequency Podcast. My name is Lisa Kirby. I'm the co founder of The Green Door Life, and I am so excited to chat with this beautiful human being who I don't get to talk to as much anymore. But that's like part of the magic of having a one-on-one coaching relationship is you really do build these bonds with the most amazing people. So without further ado, I'm stoked to talk to Dr. Courtney today. And she has been, not only did we have an amazing 12 weeks together, but we have stayed friends since. And it's been such a joy and an honor to watch your own evolution evolve with health and everything else and all aspects of health. And also your amazing network and how many incredible clients who know you and have found us through you. So I couldn't be more grateful to. I just want to give you the mic and let you tell, your story. So, Dr. Courtney, for those who don't know who you are and are living under a rock, can you just share a little bit more about yourself and how you found us?
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. It kind of feels like familiar because we did our one-on-one chats, and so I'm used to just sitting here and chatting with you. But now people are going to get to hear it, whereas those ones, we could just lollygag. So yeah, for me, like I'm a doctor of chiropractic, in case you didn't know, and I specialize in pediatric and prenatal health. My background, I have a bachelor's of science in health promotion. And so a lot of my education is exercise science, and I have a minor in nutrition, and like I have a lot of the knowledge of all of those things. And so through the years, I was following a lot of the recent research and trends, and I've always just really nourished my body in a way that felt really healthy for me. I started experiencing some weight gain through like a really stressful season of my life that was so unfamiliar to me. It like threw me for the biggest loop. I worked with multiple nutritionists, and we could not figure out the weight gain. I had people looking at my food logs and they were like, "You eat so well." I love taking care of my body, taking care of my health. And so I just do all the things all the time. And this weight gain, like I worked out and had like a very healthy pregnancy and home birth with my daughter, didn't get any stretch marks, but this weight gain was like 5 pounds a month until I had a total of like, I think 40 pounds and I had stretch marks. And I was like, this just feels like so abnormal for what is healthy for my body. All that to say, my best friend, Jamie, she started working with you guys. And I don't know how she found y'all, but she started working. Oh, I know. She found y'all through Jesse.
Yes.
She started working with you guys and was having a really positive experience. And I had worked with a nutritionist that she had worked with previously. So we were often referring each other to similar providers. And she was like, I think this will help you. And I was like, you know what? I am willing to give anything a try. So I listened to like the intro webinar and I was like, this makes so much sense. And this is different because I was following more of like a pro-metabolic diet, which, in a certain season was really nourishing for me. Like after I had my baby, I within 2 weeks was back at my pre-pregnancy weight, it just felt really fast. And then within a year, I was like 20 pounds under that. And so I was really under weight. And then I did pro-metabolic and I put that 20 pounds back on in a really healthy and stable way. And I held that for a few months. And then all of a sudden it was like 5 pounds a month, 5 pounds a month, 5 pounds a month. So it just didn't feel like it was postpartum. It didn't feel like it was fully pro-metabolic, but I know there were pro-metabolic components that were like playing into also the stress and the various hormones that were changing in my life at the time. So that's kind of my story of how I found you guys, and it's rocked my world ever since.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing because that's actually more context I think than I had before we were coaching together and that we hear a lot of from the metabolic diet. And I love that you're like we're not knocking it or and with any kind of protocol, literally anything, nutrition, training, any modality that's in alignment or contributing to one's health, it's always looking at bio-individuality and like a season. There's usually a time for it, but a lot of these things don't necessarily work long term, or they don't give enough guidance or like training wheels of like, hey, now you do this for a little bit, like here's what to look out for when you're at that steady weight and how to like move forward. I think one of the tricky parts is, especially with pro-metabolic, is you're used to eating in that way. And if you like the weight that you're at, when you have lots of carbs and fats together at the same time, it's two very nutrient dense energy sources that don't really exist in nature at the same time. So it actually requires a little bit of adjustment. And even just with that macronutrient, calorie, metabolic health knowledge, you can navigate from there. So it is, we've talked to so many women who've done pro-metabolic and they hit this wall and gain all this weight, and we're always like, it's not like a body composition diet. It's a metabolism healing protocol.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I feel that, and that it like nourished me in a season,
Yeah.
but then things changed. And also I don't think anyone necessarily in the pro metabolic community was straight up like, hey, cheese is protein. I don't think it was really blatantly stated like that. It would just be like a very casual, like, here's a great snack idea. And it wouldn't really be protein dense. It would be like eggs, which are, like equal in protein and fat and things like that. But in my brain, I was labeling those foods as protein foods. And so then my fat consumption was just incredibly high. And as a mom, like on the run, grabbing a cheese stick or thinking in advance and like preparing a bunch of chicken breast and like like I was just grabbing a cheese stick or grabbing things that were like equal fat, equal protein because I was just on the go and that was like protein for me. So, really, what I remember when people would ask me when I started this program what I was doing, I would just say, like, I'm resetting my metabolism so that protein is just protein from animals. Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not going for dairy to get my protein. Like, I'm resetting where my body is getting protein and focusing on that. And then everything else I feel like just kind of fell into place.
Oh my gosh, I actually love that. I've worked with like my parents and some other family members who don't want to do the deep dive and learn kind of the science of nutrition, the way we have it structured and the framework we have available, where I'm just like, we're just going to focus on protein. If you just track your protein and be so fulfilled by like actual real protein, not all the other stuff like you're saying, and then the other things kind of fill in, and then you're really moving with your appetite and what's around your kind of natural hunger levels. That's like such an easy place to start. But I think one of the confusing aspects is that from marketing or these dietary approaches and protocols, we don't have that clear understanding of like what is just a protein. It's very convoluted now.
Sure. And like, I mean, you guys point out on your page all the time, but like, I feel like the program helped equip me as well. Of like, you go to the store and you see the marketing and it says 9 grams of protein, and then you flip it on the back and it's got 10 grams of fat and 9 grams of protein. So it's like that's actually not like a dominantly protein source. It's dominantly fat. And so the marketing, it just now it infuriates me because I'm like, you're saying
Yeah.
it's protein and it's not.
Totally. And it's almost like we know, as the general population, we know just enough to be dangerous. So now everyone's like, "Oh, protein, it's so important." But a lot of people are now overeating fat because they're not actually getting true protein sources. So it's just, I always say, I'm like, there is so much more to it. And when you actually learn the science of it and how it actually works and then works in your unique body, that's where it's such a game changer. And I just loved working with you, Courtney, because you were so honest about like, yeah, I'm not going to be eating like a whole bunch of green vegetables or whatever. You were just like, this is what my body's drawn to. And also, we have these really cool discoveries together, like fruit doesn't really work for you. And you are such a joy to work with because you already are very in tuned with your body. Did you notice anything in terms of like the signs and signals that you were getting during our time together? Did anything get amplified? Did anything stand out to you? Or is that just like your natural kind of like you are very in tuned with your body's signals?
I have always been like very sensitive to my body's signals and like how it communicates. And so I didn't notice like any more expression necessarily from my body. It was just more of like being able to kind of play around with some things, like, noticing that when I was eating fruit, my I don't know, it's just so weird, but I was getting like the numbness or the cold hands and feet. And now I just don't eat a whole lot of fruit. And it's not that fruit is bad. That's not my message. I'm not saying that. It was just I noticed that I put two and two together with my body. And so most of my carb sources, which a lot of people can get carbs from fruit, but most of my carb sources were from fermented veggies, which we're always having to watch my sodium because of that. Um, and like root vegetables. And that's what I've always said is that I'm just more of like a meat and potatoes type of person, or like, and then sourdough bread. And so it really just, I think, gave me freedom because I think, and that's what's so funny is because people think program and they think restriction. I actually found so much freedom because I think the health community world is like, well, avocados are so good for you. And I'm like, I just don't like avocados. And so it just gave me this freedom of like, oh, I can still be really healthy and have great muscle mass, and I don't have to eat a ton of leafy greens and like just power through like eating a salad when I don't really like that.
Yes, exactly. Oh my gosh. And I start to go super philosophical and I just think about our ancestry and our genes and how we've evolved and our mitochondria and if that's coming from the maternal line and like what was their diet like. It's like when we I think one of the coolest parts is we do help clients kind of find this baseline with consistent meal timing, meeting first and foremost your body's protein needs because we can't store amino acids. And then your blood sugar starts to regulate. And once you just kind of get to this baseline, then you can start to look at some of these other aspects of nutrition. And it really becomes bio individual to where you really can understand like what your body thrives on and what it's asking for. So it was so cool because we were able to kind of track like, wow, it really is the fruit. Because as soon as you cut it out, the symptoms were gone. It's like, okay, that
That's
was so easy. Did you notice, any other shifts as well? Because I know a lot of women are coming to us, waking up, drinking coffee, not eating, doing the intermittent fasting thing in the morning, which from a quantum biology perspective is actually like flip-flopped. Like we really are supposed to eat our most nourishing meal in the morning or at least during daytime. Did you notice any shifts from just like more consistent meal timing, getting your protein in on like your emotions, your kind of ability to regulate, anything like that?
that was definitely like a big lifestyle change that I still carry with me to this day. Is typically you think of people having like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I now am like very different than everyone else in that I do my breakfast, like seven or so, but then like I have meal two, I do my 4 meals a day. So I'm
Yep.
really, it's like I'm skipping lunch, but that's just really not the time for me to eat because I'm doing like a 10:30, 11 o'clock lunch, if you will, and then like a 3 o'clock and then like a dinner time. So yeah, that's been a little bit different for me, but I noticed just a lot more steadiness in my overall like mood. But I think the biggest change for me, and which that I remember in some of our first calls, I was like, obviously my body is bigger right now, but if that's what my body needs to be safe, I'm okay with it. I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm not doing this to lose weight. I mean, obviously I lost weight, but I was like, I've done all these programs. I'm probably not going to lose weight, but I want energy. And that's what I got a lot out of the webinar is I was like, I just feel like a slug. I feel like a slug and I want more energy. And I think it was like within 2 days, I would say the first 2 days were a little bit of like, I was a little frustrated with just like learning my fitness pal and like really trying to figure out portions because the portions of what you think are 30 to 35 grams of protein are like way smaller. Like it's actually so much bigger. So just learning all of that was like, I don't know, just a transition point of a little bit of frustration. But at like the 2 day mark, I was like, I would put my daughter down for bed at bedtime and I would get up and go do the dishes. I mean, like, I hadn't done that in years. Even Janny was joking, like, I went and visited her for her 40th birthday, and she was like, when you'd go do bedtime with Rosie, it would be like, probably not going to see you. Like, you're down and out. And like, changing the way that I was nourishing my body gave me so much more energy. I would be like falling asleep on the floor of the playroom playing with my daughter at that like 3 p.m. crash time. And like I was now like I was just able to be the mom I wanted to be of like, let's go do this, let's go to the pool. And that's how I feel like I still show up. And that changed my life. And even my husband at the time, he was very like, this is totally different. Like, I don't know what you're doing, but like this is different. And I was like, I know, right?
Oh my gosh, and it's so crazy. I had a very similar experience just a couple days in, and, it's kind of a big statement to make, and when, I'm talking to potential clients, they're like, "What?" "Is that even possible?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's possible." And we always say, like, we're not necessarily a weight loss program. That's usually a side effect. Like, your body, I truly believe, will find its natural set point weight that it wants to be at to be healthy and thriving if you're first and foremost focused on, finding what it needs. And what's so interesting about protein is it's not an energy food, but you need it every day. And if you undereat, it's like your body's just not working optimally. So like carbs and fats are your energy foods and body fat. But like protein is when we undereat that, that's what really has such a huge impact on feeling that kind of sluggishness. Um, that is just so cool to hear. I love that it was so quick for you as well, and so many of our clients. And so tell me more just from there, feeling more energy and like what other changes did you notice in your personal life just from that increased energy?
Yeah, I mean, it gave me the ability to start showing up in my life the way that I felt like I was having a hard time. Like I didn't feel like I had capacity. So it increased my capacity. But what that also allowed is me to have a mental clarity that I just like didn't have for such a long time that gave me the strength and the courage to ultimately end up filing for divorce, which I am, but I don't want to be like a poster child for divorce, right? Like I hope that people hear like I don't want anyone to walk through what I walked through. I hope no one has to go through a divorce, but I'm also really grateful to have the opportunity to be able to find safety and to leave things that are not safe. And so for me, it just looked like I didn't like put two and two together necessarily because it was toward the end of the program because we were like working together still and I was like, "Oop, oop, some stuff's happening." And yeah, toward the end of the program but I then realized like I filed for divorce and I walked through kind of all of that and the foundation that I set within those 12 weeks, I was able to just like carry through to where I think I lost 12 to 15 pounds during the program. And then it's been like my total, hold on, I need to do my calculator. What is my total weight loss again?
You know it's big when you need a calculator.
Yeah. Uh, Okay, total weight loss has been 43 pounds since I
Wow.
started with you guys in January of 2024. But yeah, it just gave me like the mental clarity to be able to pursue the most radical change for my life that ultimately was one of the most stressful seasons as well. But I was very nourished and like clear and yeah, I had the capacity to be able to go through that, which I think I was so bogged down previously that I don't know that I would have been able to do it.
Wow. I mean, ugh, I'm so grateful for you sharing your story because there are definitely women out there who need to hear it. And, as we were kind of chatting about before we started here, it's applicable to any relationship, right? So being well resourced and having the energy to speak up for yourself, set boundaries, advocate for your wants and needs, like you have to have energy for that. And if you're not fueling your body properly and you're kind of in that loop of, just despair or feeling like you can't get out or you can't change, a lot of it does come down to, do we have the physical readiness and energy to even get to that point? There's so it really becomes this place of like a baseline needs, like having your nutrients met in a way that works for your body. It really does allow for more emotional growth and, looking at all the other aspects of health. It's kind of like when we're not feeling our best physically, it impact like you take your body with you everywhere, so it impacts everything. So it's not uncommon. I've I've been dubbed the coach that gets people to quit their jobs, but it's not my fault. And I don't know if it's just like the people that are drawn to work with me or who I've been drawn to work with, but almost every single client I've had quits their jobs. And then so you're my first who didn't quit their job, but it's like it is a big, monumental life change where you kind of reach that place where you're just reassessing everything. I got to that place myself when I went through kind of the initial baseline education, feeling more well resourced, and then I left corporate. So it's not uncommon to have this radical change. And it's really about, again, the weight loss wasn't, like you said, it wasn't really the goal. It was really about, I want energy back. That's like the number one thing we hear across the board. People are tired, people are exhausted. Um,
Well, I
did
think too, some of our conversations that we had were all about safety and like hormonal safety and how like if I'm not nourishing my body's not going to feel safe because then it's like, well, when is my next meal coming? And I did some tracking before I started the program with you guys just because I wanted to see like where I was at with all of my macros. And what's crazy is because I know that the program is like a slight calorie deficit and people, very pro-metabolic, it's like, oh, how can you survive off that many calories? I'm like, but when I actually looked at, even though I was doing pro-metabolic, how much I was actually eating during the day, I was eating significantly more in the program. Even though it's like they say, you're doing like 22 to 2,500 calories or whatever it is with like a pro-metabolic, but I wasn't actually eating that much. Like I was grabbing a cheese stick here or there. I had my coffee. Like it was like I wasn't actually eating that many calories and I was gaining weight because I was undernourished and didn't feel safe. So it's like I was eating more and had more food freedom. So that's where I'm like, it didn't feel restrictive at all. Like people were shocked that I think I was doing like 1,400 calories or so. People were shocked. They're like, that is so low. And I'm like, I'm actually eating so much. Like I feel so full.
Yes, I remember some of our chats for sure. It was like, especially protein, it's so filling, like actual protein. And the other part I think people miss a lot is that your body fat is the third source of fuel. So if we're carrying extra body fat, yes, we don't want to be under eating calories for forever, and that's going to shift as your body changes. But you can think about like 1 pound of body fat contains about 3,500 calories. So it's there for a reason, and we actually don't have to be afraid of it or, hate on it. It's like, oh, it's like actually I like to think that people who can store body fat well, we're naturally selected over time because it was a trait of survival. Like, hey, if you can store body fat, like you're gonna make it during tough times, right? So I think that's the other piece of, like, yes, we're coming out of the dark ages of like 1,100 calories, but the food that we were eating was crap. It was like Kellogg's Special K. There was no protein happening, right? So we've kind of shifted, almost like the pendulum swung the other way. And now we're just like, everyone needs all this food. And it's like, maybe, but also you have to look at your movement. I talk about all the time how just as a species, we're just not moving as much as we were. And if we're not moving, even just, I'm not even talking about exercise, but just like walking, like basic movement, your metabolism is going to be slower than it would otherwise. So it really, when you kind of look at the grand scheme of things in terms of what is making up your calories, especially protein, it really can feel like you're eating like twice the volume of food.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And then I didn't even weight train while we were together.
Yeah.
Like a new thing for me this summer probably.
Yes.
That's like one of my favorite parts of the program. It took me a little bit longer to get started.
Well, and so I'm so glad you brought that up. I was going to ask because I remember towards the end of the 12 weeks, we were just starting to kind of dip into it, like looking into the strength training because it's all our entire approach is like just meeting you where you're at. And if you overwhelm someone with too many changes, it's just not going to stick. So I remember towards the end, like you had done a couple workouts and you loved it and you felt really good. But it was just at the time, it was like where to place it. And we were looking at your schedule and how to make it more consistent. What was the big change for you that kind of got you into moving into that next step?
Yeah, I think it was so much of season of life of like, I mean, the week that I filed for divorce was the week that my associate left the office. She moved. And so I see how God perfectly orchestrated that for the ultimate like settlement in the financial division of assets for my divorce. But it was a season of life where I was like, what the heck is happening? Because I would actually take 2 months off of work and go cry. So like I'm losing my support and I now have to show up 4 full days a week, all day, every day. So I just didn't know like how to prioritize taking care of myself in a season that I didn't feel like I had. I run a business that's supposed to run around my life instead of my life running around the business. I know that you know that because you do that as well, but like it flipped kind of on its head on me where I'm like, I have to keep this above water, and that means I'm going to sacrifice like myself and my health. And I was able to do that for a period of time, and then I was like, I'm killing myself. We're going to cut my clients in half. Like I had to make a radical change, so cut my patient load in half, and then I focused mostly on walking and movement, especially from like a decreasing cortisol perspective. And also I absolutely love like the founder of EMDR was she discovered it through walking. And so it's really cathartic. Like your the eye shifting movements. And so I walk for 45 minutes to an hour every day. And that was vital for me in like just the immense stress. Like obviously like the relationship was very stressful, but like the after effect was like probably 3 or 4 times as stressful. And so just focusing on walking was what I did to just like survive that season. And then I got an associate and I kind of like added more members to my team where and things kind of like settled down, like my divorce was finalized and I felt like I was moving into that next season of like, okay, what I'm building a life that I want, what do I want that to look like? And so I did. I sat down with my team and I was like, I really want to prioritize like I'm waking up, I'm going for a walk, and then I'm lifting weights on these days of the week. And like, let's modify the schedule so that I can keep that at priority. And then I jump into those other tasks that you guys have for me. So literally my staff, like they go into my calendar and it's like bolded and in red. Um it's like walk and lift weights. Oh, sorry, it's all blurry, but like it's like walk from 9 to 10 a.m., lift weights 10 to 11 a.m., and then my content creation block 11 to 2, and then different calls and meetings. So it's just built into my schedule now where it's like that is my time. And because I lead in that way, like talking to my director of operations, she's like, hey, do you have any advice for me on how I can balance more of my workload? Because she's just a workaholic and that makes her an incredible employee. And I love, love, love that. She's the one that I have to be like, hi, go take rest. So I really get to lead in that way. And then I'm like, hey, now you know when I'm going to be on Slack. So like build your schedule to where you're walking and you're working out when I am. And then we can jump on at the same time, you know?
Yes. Oh my gosh. We had a little women's call group call yesterday and we were talking about hormones, which led into just like our cyclical nature in general. For those for women who are still menstruating, it's like going with that kind of flow and giving ourselves the grace of that kind of structure and consistency is such a gift. And I was talking about how we can make this just like the norm going forward. It's going to take female leaders who are not skirting around that, who are prioritizing their health. Because I mean, I've worked like both ways. I've taken care of myself and worked, and I've not taken care of myself and worked. And it's just like you're so much more productive. Like so much more comes out of you being well nourished and well resourced as a woman. And then we were kind of talking about the differences too of, for men, they actually thrive on some of those stressors. Like it's good for them to fast every once in a while or like have some of those stressors because they're like supposed to go out and hunt and take action and lead in a different way. And for women, it's like we need food. We need to be nourished and fed. It's like the exact opposite of what's out there in the world. And I think it is just the best feeling in the world for women to come into this place and like come home to their body of like, wow, I can actually like feeling good equates to like a fit, healthy body. Like I don't have it doesn't have to be painful or what? Like
Yeah.
that's not what we've been told, you know?
And like I just build it in a way that like I just so enjoy it and like crave it. And I do think that that's the reality. Like I think hormonally, and I think your body really does crave the movement as you get moving. It's just like the getting going that is sometimes the hardest part. It escaped my brain. There was something in there though. Oh well, it'll come back to me.
It'll come back.
Oh, okay, it's back. Um, there was something about my team also asks me, they're like, where are you at in your cycle? Because they know that in my luteal phase, I am on Slack so many times a day. I'm cranking out content, all kinds of stuff. The second I'm bleeding, I go ghost mode and they like don't hear from me for like a week. Like my like follicular phase, they're like, where is she? Is she getting anything done? And I'm like, no, I'm not doing anything. But luteal phase, I am like, so they try to stack like all my content creation stuff. They're like, okay, we're just trying to know where you're at in your cycle and like when you're going to be like getting stuff done.
That is that is so awesome. That's the best. It's the best. And like if you have the opportunity to do that as a female, like do it because now you have this ripple effect of like what's possible for women. Oh, that's so great. I love hearing that so much. One other thing too I wanted to touch on with the walking, which whenever someone asks me just like what's the one thing I can do to get fit, healthy, lose weight, whatever the goal is, increase energy. Of course, there's protein, and we definitely have a huge focus on nutrition, but walking is one of the best. And then even I didn't know that the research came from the person who discovered EMDR because I've since learned besides like the metabolic benefits, it's like you're able to um like your the lateral hemispheres of your brain start to communicate again and it can be very like emotionally healing and helps you like retain memory. So it helps with learning. There's just so many benefits, and then it truly is the best because you're lowering cortisol while you're burning body fat because it's not too intense that you're burning glucose or sugar. It's low intensity enough that you're actually burning body fat just by breathing.
So you're lowering cortisol, you're burning body fat, you're releasing trauma, generational trauma, because your eyes are going. And then if you want to like just have it stack, right? Like have your eyes focus on things far out in the distance, which are like strengthening your eyesight, right? Like you don't want everything to be right here. And I know it's like if it's sometimes it's hard enough just to like take the time to go on a walk. And if you want to go and scroll TikTok or whatever, like do it just so you can get the walk in. But sometimes I will go without anything and I will just like because you know then you're listening to the birds and that like is supportive of your nervous system and you're like looking out into the distance and then there's the sunrise. You're just hitting every single benefit all at once.
I'm laughing because I do that. I when the kids are with me, I'm like, everybody look at that cloud, look at the top of the tree, and like look out as far as you can. I
Yeah.
remember reading this from Katie Bowman, and she talks about full body movement, but on like the microscopic level and how important it is to, you know, because we're doing this all day, we're looking super close. So just looking far away and being present in nature. I love walking without anything. It's now like, you know, it's the new like, what are you crazy? You're just digitally, you have no electronic attached to your body. You're just like, wait, what? You went to a coffee shop and just sat there and read a book or just sat and had coffee. It's like you're also detoxing dopamine at the same time, you know, you're like or like resetting your dopamine levels so that you're just enjoying life, you're so present. I can't recommend walking enough if anybody is listening to this. And I love that it was such a path for you to also look at strength training down the line. And it's just been so cool to watch you train. I'm like, yes, this is the next level.
It's been so good. And I feel like, you know, I was an athlete forever. This is like really the longest gap I've ever had in training was pretty much like after I had my daughter, because I did functional fitness up until 2 weeks before I gave birth to her. So it's like after I had her, I really wanted to be gentle with my body and take it really slow. And I kind of in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna give myself like a whole year of just like being gentle with my movement, like focusing on just like picking her up and all those types of things. And I think just being consistent in walking then helped me feel it's just the getting started, that getting over that hump. And I really started in a way that I didn't push myself too hard because I knew I would be too sore to be able to show up, a day or two later. So I started with like body weight, maybe 5 or 10 pounds, and I don't even know that I would complete the full 4 sets or the full, I really was just trying to listen to my body, which my body, I tend to have like a high heart rate. And when I'm exercising, I will stay in that red zone the entire time. That's a very just interesting thing about me. I've always been like, do I checked. Um, so when I would compete with functional fitness, CrossFit type stuff, or we'd be wearing heart rate monitors, everyone was always like, "You go, girl!" I would be always up there, and I really have to take a second to listen more to my body on if I'm pushing it too hard from a cardiovascular standpoint. So I started really slow. And then I would say I probably took a month of just kind of easing into where I'm like, okay, now I'm doing the 4 sets and I'm doing the supersets. And then it's probably been a month of me doing that with the progressive overload to where I'm like, okay, here's what it reminds me of. As kids, I see this with my daughter who's almost 6. As kids, they're entire all day, every day. It's like, I didn't think I could do this. And look, I'm doing it, right? Mom, watch this. I didn't think I could kick my leg right here, and I can. And you're just watching all of this really mundane stuff, but they're figuring it out for the first time, and it's so exciting. I just have had this epiphany of as adults, we just get so complacent with what we're doing in our everyday life. And it's like, yeah, we're just doing these things that we don't really have moments of this childlike, look what I can do. And I have felt that come alive in me the last month of oh my gosh, I'm deadlifting 115 pounds. I didn't think I could do that. Or the week before I was doing 25-pound, dumbbells, and I'm dying on it. And then the next week I'm doing 30-pound dumbbells. And literally afterwards, I'm like, yes, I didn't think I could do that, but I just did that. And so it's not just the muscle component. I mean, one, I feel the way my body has always been as an athlete is I've always been very strong. My arms would just get bigger, but I wouldn't get definition. And so this has been the first time that I'm noticing definition on my body, which has been cool. Also hard and different because I have saggier skin because of having had some of the fat loss, and so it's a little hard mentally, but I can see the definition, and that has felt so rewarding. And to notice that after just really 2 months of 3 times a week I'm strength training, I'm not even doing the Metcon or the HIIT exercises.
Just fine.
Janny's always like, come on, get on the call with me. We're going to do a Metcon. And I was like, over my dead body. I'm not doing a Metcon. But I probably will get to a point where I'm doing the strength thing so much that I'm craving even more, and I'll get to the Metcons and stuff. But right now it is literally just the strength 3 days a week. And I'm noticing, I think I even just posted a picture the other day of just a 1 month difference. And people were like, oh my gosh. I'm like, yeah, it's been, I feel that feels really fast to me. But I think in our world where it's very I want to lose 5 pounds a week, it's not very fast. And sometimes people think that I've done Ozempic, and I'm like, this has been a year and a half of weight loss and body recomposition.
Yes. Oh, I thank you. We were definitely going to touch on that and clear the air. So Courtney had shared with me that someone basically accused her of doing Ozempic, or was like, "Oh, this is from Ozempic." And she's like, "What? No." It's wild that what's tried and true and is very unsexy, the stuff that we're teaching is really, our ultimate dream is that we teach this in kindergarten. Obviously I've taught it to my kids. A lot of moms are teaching this to their families, and we really mean it when we say this is not just for you. I mean, it's for you, and if you have anyone else in your environment, they will absorb it just by being around you. So it's that piece is we're so passionate about it because it really is kind of these basics that we repeat over and over, and they have such an impact on your well-being and your health. It's nothing, it's not the new flashy marketing, like it's not the latest fad or trend. Like that's all just marketing buzzwords to me now, you know? So the strength training piece, I love, love, love because you're pairing it now with the nutrition, and that's when you really start to expedite results. Some people aren't really sure, like, oh, should I dive into the training and look at nutrition? There's no wrong answer. Like some people like focusing on one thing at a time. I love that you just took it your path and took it your way, because imagine again, if you had dumped all of that all at once. You know, some people get really, really hungry when they start to strength train. And if you're battling any kind of emotional eating, or you're not used to having like really increased hunger and lots of cravings and you don't know how to fuel properly. That's another thing we see a lot is people will start really doing these hardcore workouts like Orange Theory and CrossFit and all these things, but they don't know the nutrition piece and they're not fueling properly. And then they end up eating more than they did before. So I love that you went the route first of just like optimizing nutrition and then adding in the strength training. And now it's like, it's just fun. I'd love to know just what your experience was working. Obviously, it was me, but just like in general, like having a one on one coach. Have you ever done that before? Was that a different experience? Like, do you feel like you could have done that, like figured it out on your own? Or did you feel like having a coach was really kind of the next level in terms of sticking with it and everything?
Yeah, I mean, I had worked previously with a few other nutritionists, like one on one with like some of those weekly check ins. And so I kind of knew what to expect from that sense. But what I think really stood out to me with this program versus some of those other ones that I had done was just how comprehensive it is. Like, and every other, practitioner, I work with a lot of like naturopaths and things. And when they're like asking more about nutrition, I'm like, no, I'm set. Like, I don't want anyone else talking to me about nutrition because like this is working. I'm not going to change anything. But it felt so all encompassing with not just nutrition, but like I love that you guys talked about light. You know that I was like, I'm on that same wavelength, like literally of morning sunlight and sunset and no blue light after the sun goes down, but the impact that has on hormones. And I think people are aware of that generally now, not so much a few years ago. I think there's a general knowledge of that, but I think the connection of that with hormones and how our hunger signs and all of those are hormones, right? Like I don't think that is so much public knowledge or general population knowledge of like ghrelin and leptin and like so that stuff. I mean, I ate that up. I like loved that so much. And I think having the one-on-one component of like really being able to make sure that this was working with the life that you're living while making some of those little changes just felt so supportive. And then also I'm the type of student where I'm like, I'm going to do this full force. Like I'm fully committed. I'm in. And then being able to experience like, because while I was in the program, my ex-husband relapsed. So being able to then experience like an incredible shift in life, which I kept telling you, Lisa, I'm like, things are crazy, like it's off. And you're like, no, like this is life. And so that's what like we're here for is how can you continue to modify nutrition and take care of yourself, even though all these other things are happening? Because I think sometimes in our brains, we're like, this is happening, so this has to be on pause. And it was
Right.
like, it was a little bit of like, yes, and here are still some things that you can do. I understand that you're probably not going to feel as hungry because you are so incredibly stressed with some of these other things, but it just felt like, for me personally, it just felt like it ebbed and flowed perfectly custom with what was happening in my life at the time in a way that like I will never change anything about my nutrition or lifestyle that I'm unwilling to do for at least a year. Like it has to be a lifestyle change for me. And this didn't just change my life for a year. Like I'm a year and a half in, and I kept saying, I think I told you at 12 weeks, I was like, I'm forever eating like this. Like this is like this changed my life forever. So whenever people are like, I just don't know if I can, get into a program like that's expensive or that feels like a lot, I'm like, no, like sure, it's an investment up front, but it changed my life for like it's given me a foundation that I'm literally going to be like continue doing, not teaching my daughter how to do, which you saw the video of my daughter in the gym with me, but like teaching her, like, I'm like, we're breakfast girls. Like, we get up and the first thing we do is we eat breakfast. We're breakfast girls. We're hungry in the morning. And like, not even that, but you said like people around me, like, I'm still trying to convince my mom to do it. But like my sister, I told her, I was like, listen, this is the basics of what I'm doing. And I just told her like the foundation of protein, and just her changing that and walking. I mean, Lisa, she lost 30 pounds
Wow.
without working with a one-on-one coach. So like I was just like, hey, this is kind of the basics of what I've been doing. I don't know what your macros would be. You would have to figure that out, but like this has changed my life. She lost 30 pounds. Not only that, she had preeclampsia with her first baby. And they always say if you have preeclampsia with your first, you're going to have it with your second. She had a absolutely redemptive natural delivery with her second, no induction, no preeclampsia. Everything was completely good and normal, which is just so rare. And then one of my best friends, we were both doing pro-metabolic. We were traveling together, and I was like, I have to tell you a secret. I'm eating different. Like, I was like, we were buying groceries together. And so I was like, here's kind of what I'm thinking for meal plans. Cause when we travel together, we meal plan it. Like food is important to us. So we were meal planning everything. And I was like, it's going to be a little different this year. And she was like, well, what are you doing? And so I kind of told her again, just like the very general basic foundation. And she started doing it with movement, and she lost 30 pounds. And we were both very like pro-metabolic girls. Like, so I'm just seeing this domino effect of it impacting the people around me. While I would love for them to get all the benefit of doing the one-on-one coaching, just some of the basic knowledge that you guys put out on social media is already changing people's lives.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. I swear it's like 30 pounds is the magic number that we hear a lot from the pro metabolic crowd of like how much weight they put on. And
Yeah.
I always say too, it's like this information, like you can find it. It's on our page if you want to geek out. Like we're super into free education. We have so many free resources that if you have the time and the mindset and you want to dig into that, like it's there for you. And we're so passionate about giving that away. And if you want to be held, if you want to be held and like fast track it and you have the resources to do that, that's what we're here for. And I love too that you touched on like having a coach when your life blows up is if it's the right coach and it's the right fit. And honestly, it could be any, to me, it's like a true coach is like, yeah, we're talking about nutrition, but I would say like the last half of our calls, we're talking about you, your schedule, your boundaries, your wants and needs.
Yeah.
And it's like having someone to hold that space for you, especially when you're going through something challenging is it's a luxury, it's a gift. Like I wish that for everyone. Someone to just check in with you and be like, "How are you doing?"
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think like because there were some points of like I have so much of the background and the knowledge from like a nutrition science standpoint of just I remember when I was doing the intro stuff, I was like, Lisa, this is killing me. Like I know what carbs are. Like I was like, can I please skip some of these sections? I was being a little bit of a brat in that way. But I think like it's the application of it, right? Like you can have the knowledge and sometimes like even if you have the knowledge, sometimes it's nice to just like sit back and like have a guide. Like I'm all for empowering people and making your own decisions, but like sometimes the energy and the effort, it's sometimes nice to just be like, hey, I've actually put someone in place here. I call it who, not how. Okay. And this is one of my favorite business principles. It's a whole book. It's not my idea. It's by Dan Sullivan. But the whole Who Not How book, while it applies to business, I think it applies here of like, you know how, like if you want to take the time and go look, you can know how you should be eating and you can figure all of that out. Or so it's like if you've got the time, then okay, go figure out the how. Or if you have the resources, you can find a who like Lisa and you can help me implement some of those changes in a way that feels really sustainable and steady. And then I'm not having to exert all the energy on figuring out how to do it. Like I'm being guided through that process. And I think sometimes people are like, well, maybe you're outsourcing your power, and I just don't see it that way because ultimately, like, if you're following me on social media and I'm sharing tips and tricks, and all the time people are like, I'm just going to do this because you're doing it, you're outsourcing your power to me because you trust me as a guide of health by the standards that I have, that it's going to align with yours. So that's what I feel like I just did here is I hired a trusted healthcare professional to help me guide through this so that I don't have to spend all of the time and the energy figuring it out. And it's really custom tailored for what makes sense for my life.
So true. And I also think too, part of being a business owner, I think your relationship to money and investment changes really quickly. So I like in the past kind of old me, if I looked at spending money on myself in this way, I'd be like, "Oh my God, I'm not going to do that." It'd be shocking. But I think as a business owner, you have to invest in your business to get it to improve and grow. And so in thinking it kind of carried over for me, and I'm sure for you, of like investing in yourself, investing in skills. That's another thing that we really focus on is like a framework and skills. We're not just telling you do this. It's more like this is the baseline knowledge, and let's see how your body reacts, and here's like the skills of how you can adjust this going forward. To me, it's like when I talk to women who have been trying to solve this problem, not just years, but for decades, I'm like, sometimes the cheaper solution of trying to look to figure it out on your own for free or doing like low ticket offers, and not that all high ticket premium offers are the right solution, but sometimes it's like the wasting of time, the time that's passing, the pain points that you have through it all is like maddening. And it's like if you're in that place, like really thinking about this investment for life, then it's kind of a no-brainer of like, I look at it as like just like a college education class. You're gonna have it for life. And if I actually like had a college education where like something so tangible and positively impactful came out of it, I would like be in college for the rest of my life. But it's like we don't always get such a huge ROI on something that has such an impact. But it's like eating is something that most of us are doing every day, multiple times a day. Like, why not figure out how to optimize it for your body?
And what I loved too is I remember like I tend to lean, I was like, I'm 100% committed. I'm doing this program. I'm not cheating. I'm not like, I'm doing it. And I loved that there was one night that I was like, oh, what I miss. I was just like, I miss having a little bit more fat, like I kind of miss some of those like fatty foods that I just really haven't been able to have in a while. And you weren't like, you can't have that or whatever. Like I was like, I just love ice cream. You're like, ice cream's a great food. Just like put it in with your macros. So you're not just eating a bowl of ice cream for that fourth meal or whatever it is, but like you're having ice cream and you're having, some of those other things. So like it can fit into that meal. And I was like, oh my gosh, like ice cream's a health food. Like I was like, yes, okay, I can. And that was like, that was so, again, freeing for me of like sometimes we demonize certain foods when, I mean, you know me, I'm like making my own ice cream at home. And so you're like, it's literally raw milk and maple syrup and like just make it fit. Like, and I was like, oh, yeah, it's not have it. It's just that I need to have it in a way where like protein is the focus and, those things are all balanced for my blood sugar.
Yes, I remember that too. I'm like, ice cream. I'm like, we can make ice cream work. I make pizza work. Yeah, it's all these things that we've been told are off limits or bad. It's like, I don't really believe in any of that. I think it's just there's so much context and nuance where, if I really want this thing and I'm feeling it, like I'll try and put it before a workout or, have it like make a modified version of it. I did so much baking last week, banana bread, like an oatmeal bake, and just the smallest changes to add more protein and change some of the other nutrients, it still tastes amazing. Like that's the thing, it like still tastes so good. It kind of, I don't know about for you, but for me it like made me really fall in love with food again, instead of just looking at it as utilitarian or being annoyed by it or confused by it. I was like, actually, I'm like so excited to eat this meal.
Yeah, no, totally. I so relate. Or even like, I love my iced latte and I want to make sure that I can have it. And so I make the iced latte first and I plugged in all the macros. And then I realized, okay, if I have, what goes into my iced latte and I do 4 slices of turkey with a few fermented pickles and some mustard, boom. And I still to this day, that is meal 2 for me. I will make sure that I do my breakfast, and then, 3 or 4 hours later, I'm like, "Yay, I get to have my coffee."
Yes, so good. I remember Janny too, when I was working with her, she was like, I am not changing anything about my matcha latte. I was like, got it, no problem. That is staying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
it's about making it work for you. It just really it helps you fall in love with food again. And I always think too, I'm like, think about your nervous system in that state when you have like these positive feelings and endorphins flowing, which is so different than this like diet culture restrictive mindset that so many of us came from. And to be honest, some of these newer nutrition protocols are actually very restrictive. They're very focused on here's what not to eat. And our focus is on here's what to eat. Here's the baseline of what your body needs.
You know what else I realized? So I have some friends and family that have decided to go like the semi-glutide type route for some weight loss. And I was just curious and asking questions like, hey, how much do those shots cost? Like, what does that look like? Well, I found out I'm not going to get it right because I really don't understand this world at all. Trizepatide or something like that. $700 a shot.
Oh my gosh.
And that was like such a point to me of like, first of all, no judgment if that's like the route that you want to go. Like I'm such a fan of like choose what you want to do and just like own your decision, you know? So I'm like, there's zero judgment from me. But in my brain, I kind of like in that moment we were having that conversation, I was like, wait, I paid $700 a month to have one-on-one coaching, to have all of these workouts, to have all of this nutrition that I then use to this day, a year and a half later. It has changed my life. And like, you're paying the same amount, but you're just doing these shots, and then you're going to have to go back to eating and like, and what are even the side effects of what all that you're doing. But it was so interesting to me that it was like, oh my gosh, like this is the same price.
Yeah.
There's just one's a lifestyle change and one's like not necessarily a quick fix, but like I don't know, that was just really key of like everyone's going to spend their money differently. So that's where I'm like, I have no judgment with that. But I just look at the investment that I made in this program and I'm like, I would do it again. I would do it all again and change my life.
I'm so glad you brought that up because we it's interesting to see like obviously there's some insurance coverage for some of that but not a lot and it's the wild west out there and then if you think about it a lot of people are getting it weekly not monthly so that's definitely pricey and I think the biggest misconception with peptides in general. Like it is has been proven to be like the most effective thing on the market right now for weight loss and other it's being looked into for other like metabolic health issues and things like that. And I'll do a post about this soon. Nutrition and training actually is more important if you're taking peptides because of the muscle loss that happens if you don't know what you're doing. So
Wow.
there's a couple doctors out there who are on it and they are promoting the same kind of lifestyle changes we are high protein, strength training, preserving your muscle mass because that burns the most calories. And these are doctors who also advocate for peptides for their obese patients. But it's almost like I look at it as totally unethical if you're not addressing the nutrition and training piece because these people are, their metabolic rate is lowering because their muscle mass is going down. If they're not implementing these things that they're going to have to learn at some point anyway, otherwise you're on the medication forever. And then actually you're at risk for sarcopenic obesity, which is the scientific term for like skinny fat. So it's,
Yeah.
let's say they lose all that body fat, but now they have minimal muscle mass. I was doing a whole bunch of scans locally last year and all of the women I was scanning who were like in their like late 40s, 50s, and 60s, their muscle mass was like 40 pounds. It was so low. I was just like, y'all need to, we gotta pick up some weights and we gotta eat some protein. And
Yeah.
it was just like, that's actually just as bad in terms of like health implications than being morbidly obese like it's the muscle mass that is just as important. So a lot of our, just another way of thinking about it is like a muscle centric, muscle forward approach where we're really protecting what we need so that when we fall down at 80, like we're going to survive that. We're not going to need hip surgery. It's
Yeah.
really it's long-term thinking in terms of your health, and it's gonna help you get through, perimenopause and all those fun hormonal changes to come, so
I think that's a lot of my mindset too, is like, I'm not a collegiate athlete anymore. So, like, what really am I training for? And I understand the whole like to look good in a swimsuit, but the reality is like, that's only for a few months out of the year. Like, there's so much more that I want than just to look good in a swimsuit. Like, I am looking down the line at the longevity of, I know for females, it's like your leg strength is one of the huge indicators on how long you're going to live. And if you're able to like stand up out of a chair by yourself when you're older. And then I just saw something the other day. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to recall it. It was in my brain a little bit ago. It'll come back to me. But it was along the lines again of like muscle strength and longevity as you age and looking at the geriatric population and really what's going to be an indicator of being more self-sufficient and self-sustainable versus the people that end up needing a little bit more support.
yes, absolutely. The data that we do have already is pretty compelling to pick up the weights for sure, and the protein.
Oh, it came to me. It's the farmer's carry that you should for have you heard this one where females should be able to farmer's carry, I think it is 75% of their weight, and men should be able to farmer's carry 100% of their weight.
Wow, that's incredible because that's gonna be mostly like core upper body strength.
Yeah,
Okay, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing after this.
I know. Some of those like straight leg deadlifts from today, I'm like, oh, I need to think about that farmer's carry.
I love that metric. I think that is a great one. I mean, and I love the name of that too, because essentially what we're talking about here, especially with strength training, is it really is just a replacement for the kind of manual labor and physical work we used to do naturally. That's all it is. There's nothing magical or special about it other than this is what we used to do. It's a modified replacement of it. So it really becomes that non-negotiable stimulus that we need, you know. Unless you're on a farm, which is another story. Anything else, Courtney, you want to share? Any like what's coming up for you? Next plans, next goals?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been really cool. Like, I reached out to a few weeks ago and I was like, for me, like 170 pounds has pretty much been like my steady, maintainable weight, like since college. So that's where when I got up to 210, I was like, this ain't normal. Like, I don't know what's happening. So I'm a little bit under 170 right now. And that's when I reached out of like, not that I feel too skinny by any means. I'm still like, I'm a thick girl. Like, I'm not really a skinny person, but like I have a barrel chest. My mom like took me to the pediatrician as a child and was like, "What's wrong with her?" And they're like, "She's just got a wide rib cage." So, yeah, I'm not little by any means, but like I just was like a little under 170 and I was like, "Okay, I've been eating in this way." Like I know we talked through a little bit of like some carb cycling and I was like, "What if we changed my macros not just for weight loss, but like which I wasn't even working one-on-one with you guys. I was just kind of free willy doing my own thing." And like some of it I do think was food, some of it was like the incredible decrease of stress. But um is switching my macros to more of like muscle building and just like and kind of checking in with my body and seeing my response to that. That's been like a really cool shift and change in season. But also what I'm finding, Lisa, because my mental state going into the weight loss, I was pretty steady of like, I don't care what the scale says. And I'm
Right.
like, okay, cool, like weight's falling off, like whatever. It's like been a little harder for me mentally, I will say, like, and I'm like, have to remind myself, I'm like, you're ill right now, like joking lovingly, because let's see, I was like maybe like 167 the other day. And then I had like one of my weightlifting days where I do like more carbs and protein around the workout. And then the next day I was like 160, almost 169, which I'm like, we're talking like that's so tiny. And I know that there's the up and downs, but it's so interesting how in my brain, I think because I'm just trying to like okay, because you said we're increasing calories by like 50 calories. So like let's see like how I respond. I'm just trying to assess it like a little
Yeah.
bit. much. And I'm like, ooh, I'm a little up. But that's something that we really didn't touch on is throughout the program, it's not just weight down the whole time.
Yes.
There
Yeah.
really is like an up and a down. And so like that was never really a thing for me mentally. I was like, okay, whatever. But it's like a thing for me now. And I knew I was like, I keep telling myself, I'd rather weigh 10 pounds more. I'd rather weigh 180 pounds and have more muscle than be 165 and like skinny fat, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And especially after a strength training day, there might be more inflammation, which is totally normal. And you want that because that's when you're building. So, yeah. And it's really, it's like looking at the assessment too. I love the tracking weight daily because if you track once a week or once a month on that day where all the things are in place where your weight's at its highest, you don't really get to see the full picture. So, I like the cadence if you can, or even like 3 days a week where you just get more of a snapshot of your average, and then you can almost look at like week to week and then month to month kind of averages and how they move after that. Muscle building is a totally different mindset because you're I've been 150 pounds and 17% body fat, so a lot of muscle, and I've been 150 pounds and like 28 29% body fat and no definition. So you could be like, that's where it gets so tricky with weight is like, I'm just so excited for you because it's like the next, so many of our clients get to this point, they've lost the body fat, they want to focus on muscle building even more and definition. And then it's kind of like your weight, you're just monitoring to see the impact of how you should change your nutrition intake. But it's like the weight eventually just becomes irrelevant because you're really going to be looking at more so like photos and how you feel and energy and sleep and stuff like that. So I'm excited for you.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I love being in like this next season. And also like just from being a high school athlete to collegiate athlete, it was never about really like look, feel, sleep. It was about performance. And so yeah, just being able to really take it from a completely different angle is cool as well.
Yes, I like to call athlete brain is when we're so hyper focused on performance and this outcome we're kind of like glossing over all this other stuff that catches up with us later, or like we think we have to do more, and sometimes it's about doing less, making sure you're resting. And even it's just so telling that you strength training 3 days a week and going progressively, like increasing your weights over time, that's exactly all you need to see change, like that plus walking and your nutrition. Like you don't need to do anything crazy, really. You don't need to be doing like orange spirit theory. Oh, so we get so many questions. Do I need to do HIIT? Should I do zone 2 training? I'm like, walk, lift, protein. Just start with me there.
I love it. It's felt really sustainable. And I am starting to notice on my like days between like the strength days, I'm like, I feel like I want to do something.
Oh, it might be time.
I know. I'm like,
Danny,
like, she might get me to do a Metcon soon. But I will say, I feel like this week the strength training changed, like the exercises, and
yeah.
it does seem a little bit more metabolic. I
Yeah.
actually texted Janie this morning and I said, I hate it. I was
I
like, I don't know.
know. They're always wait till we move. We're gonna shift. I think the next one will shift from like 4 supersets, and then we're going back to the 3-3-2. Just wait. It'll be that's when those ones I'm like, ooh, I sweat a little bit more with those. So yeah.
Yeah, I was like, no, I just want to like deadlift the barbell. Like, I don't want to do the glute bridges and everything.
Yeah.
But no, I'm trying to trust the process because, like I said, I haven't ever had definition, and so like some of those bigger, more Olympic lifts that I did all through high school and college, and I was very strong. I wonder if it's just different. So it's training in a really different way for my brain.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If we have more of that endomorph, like very strong body type, where even if you didn't lift, you would have a solid amount of muscle mass. We're already really strong and already really good at those kind of heavy lifts. We like doing more of the the smaller movers and some of the higher reps and different rep ranges is actually really good for us. And then it's like full body. But I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm like, I just want a meathead workout, just like lift heavy, take breaks.
I know, like I'm excited just, to test my body in all the different ranges. But it's funny because Jenny's like, I only have dumbbells that go up to 25 pounds. And I was like, do you realize that I'm using like 55-pound dumbbells? I was like, you're gonna have to get more.
I love this. You guys will meet in the middle.
Mhm.
It's great. Okay, well maybe we need to have Janny on next time. We'll do a girls chat.
Yeah, for sure. She always keeps it fun and interesting. I'm actually going to visit her in like 2 weeks.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Well, you'll have to document with us what you guys are eating while you're there.
For sure. I always like plan ahead of time and she's like, these are the protein powders that I have. And I know like, she's like, this is the skincare that I have. So it's such a fun trip because I don't have to bring a whole lot. Where it's normally when I travel, I have to bring my protein powder and all kinds of things because I'm prepared for places to just like, not like I went and visited one of my friends actually in Austin when we were supposed to meet up. And I just like, I don't know, escaped my brain that I was like going to bring some of my own food, which is very weird because I normally am bringing my own cooler of food. I don't know, just escaped my brain. And then I woke up the next day and I was like, no, like I have to go to HEB and like get like, I don't know, get one of those like nasty protein drinks or something because like I'm dying right now. Like you have no food. How do you have no food?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Probably from the driving part. I know when it's flying, I've got like my whole spiel. I have like an extra suitcase just for like what I'm bringing with food. See,
Yes.
that's the other perk. Get your girlfriends on board and then you don't have to pack as much. It's the
I like
best.
I like don't have to pack anything. And then we're gonna see, I'll be there on a Monday as well. So yeah, we'll probably get in a strength training session.
All right. Well, I think we touched on everything we wanted to chat about, and I'm just so grateful. Thank you for taking the time. We'll have to have another chat where you share all of your hair tips, clothing tips, all the everything else everyone wants to hear.
I mean, that has been so like abnormal for me that people are like, link your clothes. And I'm like, what? But I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I mean, I will. So
My mom was like, "Where's that cute necklace that Courtney has?" I'm like, it's from her friend. I'm like, let me find it in her stories. And I'm like, wait, it's not in her highlight. I don't know where to find it. So,
oh, it is on my outfits highlight.
oh, okay. See,
I
I
don't
went to the wrong spot.
Yeah, but yeah, a follower just made this for me. She was like, "Hey, I want to make you a necklace, and what colors do you want?" And I was like, "Well, I did my color analysis, and I was like, my colors are like the primary colors, like red, blue, green, white, black." And so I was like, "Just, make it work with that." And she was like, "Okay."
That is so cool. And it's, not the same price as the, what is it, anthropology. And it looks exactly the same. I was like, let me get back to you, mom. I have that for you.
I love it so much. Well, thanks. I mean, I just so enjoyed this. It reminds me of like we used to spend like an hour together every week, and I know I had withdrawals when that stopped, so this was so fun.
Yeah, we'll have to make this a regular thing. I
I
agree.
know, for sure.
Thank you so, so much, Courtney. And till next time.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.